Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing for a game that I'm looking forward to checking out here. It's called Tiny Epic Quest, and I hope you guys will join me as we unbox this game. But just a couple things to note before I start ripping into this, and I promise I won't take too long to go over this. Really what things I want to mention with this game is it is designed by Gamelyn Games. This is the deluxe edition, noted by the sticker in the top left-hand corner. This game raised over $580,000 on Kickstarter and also had about 17,000 backers plus. So it had some serious support behind it, and it is not the first entry into the field. They've had games called Tiny Epic Galaxies, Tiny Epic Western, Tiny Epic Kingdoms. They've had quite a few. So this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the fourth entry into the series. I'm really excited to get into this right now because I think this is the one that's going to appeal to me the most. As you can see on the box in front of you there, the artwork is very Legend of Zelda-ish. I guess it's the best way to describe the artwork, although the game itself is not based in any Legend of Zelda whatsoever, but it definitely gives that vibe off when I take a look at the front cover. The only thing you're going to get in this edition, or at least I have here in the deluxe, that is not going to be in the base game if you pick it up in stores, is a side mini expansion called the Quest for the Golden Mushrooms, I believe. Yes, I think that's the mini expansion. That is that's like a Kickstarter exclusive addition to this game. So again, you're not losing out on anything by buying this game in retail, but that's just kind of an additional side thing that's thrown in there for extra gameplay, just for the fun of it. But that's the only thing that won't be in there when you go to pick it up in the store, if you so happen to do. The other thing that's really cool to note is the fact the thing is really small, so you'll see my dice. In comparison, it is a very small footprint game when it's all put away in the box, and again, when it's on the table, it's surprisingly sprawling. So we'll see how that opens up as I go through this. So another thing to talk about is the item meeples. This is very different and new for this series of Epic games. These were not included in the prior versions of this the first time this is being done. If I'm not mistaken, they patented this as well. So they can have the ability to put items on the meeples like bombs and shovels and swords and anything you can pretty much imagine. They put a bunch of random items together and printed them out so that you can actually stick them into the meeple themselves. Very, very cool on the left or right side. Anyway, so this is the front and back of the box. We'll go ahead and tear into this now. So even though it's such a small box, I hope you guys can see this from a distance, because that's going to be the fun part, is the fact this is not a normal sized box. Usually they're much bigger and easier to see, so I might have to zoom in and out as I go. So here we go. This is with the cover completely off, or the plastic wrap completely off. Looks very, very nice. Nice pop. I don't believe, yes, there is actually a shimmer on it, so I'll give you kind of a glimpse of that. This is my light, but you can see the shimmering of the box itself definitely pops. So there's kind of a foilish kind of appearance on top of some of the areas of the box, which makes it really nice. It's also very colorful. That's very easy and plain to see. So you pop open the box, and of course, because I've shuffled things around, the very first thing you see, actually, the inside of the box, very much kind of reminds me of the Too Many Bones. I really like companies that put some kind of art inside the box cover. It's a waste of space otherwise if you don't. It's just usually gray. So it's kind of nice to see them use it for something. It seems here that it also gives you some type of reference here that, again, I can't speak to until we play it, but it might be a reference to something that's useful to know while playing the game, as well as some very, very nice looking artwork, as you can see. So we'll put that to the side for a second, and I'll just ensure that my camera is focusing. I'll have to zoom in a little bit further, and we'll jump into the rulebook. Now, I don't know how big this rulebook's going to be, so we'll just take a quick look at it. So again, very, very colorful. It has a scan ability here to watch an instructional video. That might be handy. I'll likely do that myself before we do any future playthrough. Gives you a component list, which is always handy, and I like in every game. A little bit of a prologue, an overview, an objective kind of section. It looks like there is about 24 pages. Yeah, no, 23 is where it ends off, and then of course on the very back you've got some adventure dice symbols, so you can kind of reference the dice in the game. But again, the rules are fairly well laid out, you can see. Again, I'm going to have to read this to really talk on that. And what I'll do actually is, when I'm done the playthrough for this game, when I put this into the queue, at the very end I'll do a component overview video, and I'll speak to whether or not my thoughts on the rulebook. Because as of right now, it's just a rulebook, and it's not that exciting to go through page by page when we're not actually playing it. So I'll spare you that, because I know at the end of the day you're probably here for the components. This right here is what you will not get in the retail edition of this game. So this package on top, you would see this coming into it versus having this This is just the extra tiles essentially that are given to you. A couple extra places to go visit. This is all based in the Golden Mushroom expansion, as well as a bunch of golden mushroom kind of wooden meeple things there. So I will open up this last because that's likely not to be in your edition of the game if you pick it up retail. Of course, you got your really cool item meeples. So again, these are really, really interesting. I'm going to do a quick little zoom out here. Well, maybe I'll keep it zoomed in. I'm a little scared of the lighting in the room kind of popping in and out. So let's do, so we've got a bag essentially of the items right here, all in a big gigantic plastic bag. You can see they're fairly good quality from a distance there. And then also, of course, the item meeples themselves. You'll notice there's little holes on each one of them. And of course, that's where those stick in. So if I, for example, wanted to rip this open up and just take 2 items out, I could go shield and sword. And it actually looks like most of these have are not bent or anything, which is nice. So it looks like they've held up pretty good through production, because typically when you talk about swords, shields, anything that's plastic in a straight line like this, typically there's some bending going on. So there's no such thing I'm seeing so far, which is awesome. So there you go. It looks pretty cool. You've kind of got your meeple and exactly the way that you may have picked up a sword in the game and stuff like that. Now you've got yourself like a meeple with a shield and a sword. And of course, if you're not carrying those things or you didn't pick them up, it appears there's items for everything, like up to flutes and boomerangs and basically everything you can think of. Again, I believe it's a 4-player game, so you've got 4 different colors here: green, red, yellow, and blue. So 3 meeples for each individual player. So we'll put those aside here. We'll leave this little guy right here. And then the next thing we'll talk about is the dice. So the dice are actually fairly good looking just from the offset here without me actually looking at them. And they appear to have some really nice weight. They also appear to be fairly good quality. Actually, that's really nice. If you take a look at the detail in the actual in between or in the cracks of the dice, it seems like everything's populated nicely. There's nothing missing. Like, I've seen games like this before where there's engravements in the dice and there's like chips out of it, or the paint's not completely solid all the way through. This looks like they did a really good job of ensuring that the pictures and the engravings on the dice are very well colored in. These are nice weighted dice. They look great. I don't really have any qualms with that. That looks pretty awesome. So it looks like quality on the dice is great. These are a bunch of tokens. I'm sure they affect, they're probably likely to do with enemies, likely on the map themselves. Again, because I haven't played the game, I can't speak to that, and I will try my best not to guess. There is some extra in here. This is really cool. I'm not going to build this right now, but during the playthrough I will. This is the item rack. So essentially you get yourself a little item rack, which is made of cardboard. This is kind of similar to what you saw in the Sword of Sorcery playthrough that I did. Sorry for the zoom not wanting to agree with me there. But basically you got 2 pieces, and what they end up doing when you do put them together is something like this. If I can even get it to work, which probably won't work on camera, but essentially it's like this. It sits like this, and this piece goes in between the middle, and it's basically an item rack. So then you connect them together like so, and you put your items all the way across the item rack. So very cool. We'll set that up when we actually go ahead and do the playthrough in the future. But for right now, I'm not going to fiddle with it and bore you to tears trying to put that together on camera. Next thing we've got here is a bag of what appears to be wooden tokens, which I'm not too sure what these are used for, but these might be kind of these are some upgrades I think that happened during the Kickstarter, but I think will be in the retail copy as well. So you've got, it appears to be mushrooms or butterfly type things. You got a little, again, looks kind of like a little Link or Legend of Zelda type head there. Heart tokens. So you got some heart tokens that are made of wood as well. No point in taking them out of the bag because I think you guys can actually see them straight through, as they're fairly clear once the focus comes in on camera. And right now it doesn't want to agree with me. It will eventually not. It might be the shimmer. Who knows what it is, but it's not working. So sorry about that, guys. Let's see if I can show these without the bag shimmer on it. Just do it in my hand openly. Again, not too sure what these actually are or what they're for, but there you go. So you can see the quality of these things are fairly nice. There isn't any issues in terms of chip paint or anything like that. Again, these are wooden. Don't know what those are for, but we will find out when we play through the game. This whole bag, again, was filled with a bunch of tokens that seem to appear like enemies. I think these are the enemy pieces that you would see in the game board. So when you're playing the game at a certain point. Again, that was really fuzzy, so I'll show you it just in my hand here. So there you go. There's a bunch of tokens and stuff like this that are going to end up in the game. And again, it looks like you got kind of some kind of goblinish orc type look. So those will pop up and show up in the game as you go along. And I will talk more about those in the playthrough as well. We got cards coming up next. We got all kinds of cards. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. We got a deck of cards. This one says Rest. Again, the artwork is pretty cool looking. All your heroes on portals and obelisks or on the last space of the temple track must return to your castle. Okay, cool. So again, very cool looking artwork. I like the, I kind of like the theme of this. I mean, out of all the tiny epic kind of ones that I can go after, I think the Galaxies one and this one are probably my top two of interest. Although, like I said, this is the first one I've ever got, so maybe based on this and how much I like it, I may end up getting Galaxies later. So we'll just go through a couple of the cards. Again, I'm assuming these are color-coded, so if you're the green one, you get the green. There's a yellow, there's a blue. Battle. Again, a lot of these I'm not going to be able to speak to because we haven't actually played and I'm not sure how they're used, but some of this is movement based, some of this is basically allowing you to complete actions within the game. So some very nice artwork. It looks like the cards are detailed enough, and also the area of information that's the most important seems to be large enough and easy enough to read so that there's no confusion over what's going on, as well as some really nice artwork up top. So it looks like they've spaced out the cards nicely. There's also some stuff in the bottom here. So it looks, oh, that's kind of cool. So it looks like you can equip things at the bottom. So it looks like there's a 3-in-1 kind of situation going on here. And we'll have to figure out what that's all about once we actually start playing the game. So these are some of the cards, and there's about that many in the game. And then there's these right here. These are what's going to make up basically your world as you go through. So that's essentially the bottom of the box as well. So you can see very nice artwork on the inside, just again to make the game pop even more. As you play through the game, though, you'll be starting essentially with these tiles here as your main areas. So they're going to have different places you can visit, and it'll even give you some information on what you can do when you're there. You can gain health, you can probably gain spells, all that kind of stuff. And you'll notice on the back side, it's night. So you've got kind of like a day and night, but I could be mistaken. This could be gloom related if I'm not 100%. I think that's actually exactly what it is. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a gloom-based kind of night phase that can potentially happen during the game. So I'm not sure if this happens during the day you flip it over, or if it's like you can play day or night in your session. But either way, it's very cool that they decided to use the back of the cards for something, because otherwise it would have just been a waste and there wouldn't have been anything there. So they went ahead, they made day and night on either side. So again, lots of different configurations, but if you're playing the game, essentially you'd put something down like this. And again, right now, everything's blurry, so I'll just kind of get the zoom working here a little bit. So if you had something like this, you might have that right there, and then you connect this like so, and you kind of start building out a little bit of an area to play in. I think you end up using all of them in the end, and I think it's randomly generated. So right now that fills up pretty much the camera space, but you can see that's the general layout of things, but there's a whole bunch. There's looking like at least 10 or more here, so this thing could get fairly large on the table. If I was to zoom out back to where we were earlier, like it takes up quite a bit of space. So it's surprising that a game like this can take up as much space as it does, because again, it's a tiny epic quest, but when you put all of these, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 more tiles here to go out. There's already like 6, if I'm counting that correctly. I might be off by 1 or 2. But still, you put that all out, it could probably fill up a whole side of my table without any issue. And it's pretty cool. The artwork's really, really nice on it. It does give off, like I said before, that Zelda kind of vibe. So, but again, everything's a little bit different. There's a lot of strategic choice in terms of where you want to go and what you want to do. We'll obviously get into what the options are and what you can do when we do the playthrough and the solo setup. The other thing to mention here, looks like they even have on the side of the box some advertisements for Tiny Epic Galaxies. It looks like they even have a really handy spell. It looks like it's a spell quest goblins kind of track, so that might be a really good reference. So when you're playing the game, you can sit there and say, oh, okay, like, you know, I don't know what that's exactly for right now, but I believe it's some type of track for your totals on either side. Very handy, nice to have. The other thing that's at the bottom of these cards when I opened up the game was these leftover ones here. So this one here obviously is keeping track of your score. You have some progress, I believe, that's going across over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I flip that over, it looks like actually it's just some artwork. So I'm not too sure if that's probably just there just for a thematic feel. So there's something on the back. But either way, you've got that. Then, of course, every player that plays the game has their own color. So, of course, you're going to go ahead. If you're red, you likely use this one here. Oh, sorry, no, this is the spell track, my mistake. So the spell library is down below here. This is the magic track. And again, I won't explain how those work until we do the playthrough. This right here, sorry guys, are your play mats. So you've got yourself, and this is what's really cool about this. On the back of each of these, you'll notice the capes are different colors. So you've got a red cape, a yellow cape, green, and blue. So you give those out and divvy them depending on which color the person has selected. So again, you can take a look here and see this is their player board. So across the top, you could be tracking your health. I believe that's your health. And again, I'm kind of guessing at that. You've got during night. Okay, so there's a day-night happening maybe in the same game. That's cool. You've got references to what you need. And obviously, if you upgrade your sword, different levels of powers. Completed quests probably sit below, all that kind of stuff. And of course, there's one for every character. It appears, if I'm not mistaken, that each one's different. So what I'm noticing is if you're blue, you've got reference to about 6 different things there. If you come over here, it changes just a little bit in terms of the locations you need to go to. So I think that's a way to keep everybody kind of moving in different directions within the game, which is probably a balance thing. Very cool though. And again, on the back, that really nice artwork to let you differentiate whose is what if you can't figure it out from the color on the front. I think that's just there for just nice to have, essentially. That's pretty much it, I think. That is everything in the box. So we've got all these components we've gone through. The item meatballs, I'll give you a little bit of a closer look up on these. They're really, really cool. I think it's awesome that they went ahead and designed these in a way that you can actually stick things in them. So it looks like on one side, there's a sticker spot almost. And on the other side, there's not. Or maybe that's just how it was designed. I think that's how they enclose them. So it almost looks like you should be able to put a sticker in there. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm missing something, or if maybe in the future you could purchase stickers. You'll probably make stickers yourself and just put them right on top as long as they didn't cover the circle holes. You could kind of put a little face on them too, which would be kind of funny. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this unboxing of Tiny Epic Quest. It's very, very unique, very cool, and also really small footprint to put back in the box. I think when it's actually out, it's quite large, like I said, but it's really cool to have a game in my collection I can get to the table quickly, play it solo, and that's going to be really exciting for me, is to try to go through this solo with you guys. So I want to know, like I said at the very beginning of the video, if you guys are interested in seeing me doing a solo playthrough of Tiny Epic Quest. Let me know by giving me a thumbs up in the comments and description below, or I should say on the video. In the comments and stuff like that, let me know if there's anything you're confused about or have a question about in terms of what you saw here. This will definitely be going in the queue of games that I have coming up for a playthrough. But I also want to gauge your interest to see how interested you guys actually are to see this in action. And that would include the solo playthrough as well as a component overview at the bare minimum. So I hope you guys enjoyed the unboxing, and hopefully it'll help you in your decision of whether or not this is something you might want to pick up in the future when it goes to retail. Until next time, guys, keep on rolling solo.